Chapter 1. The Strangest Human Habit. No other animal builds hospitals for strangers. We write lullabies, run disaster relief, and donate blood for strangers. And no other animal plans industrial-scale killing across every century. That is the same species doing all of it. We usually ask the wrong question. We ask who started it. War appears in almost every culture, with wildly different conditions and grievances. The real question is, why does war keep getting chosen at all? Ask it that way, and something shifts. War looks less like madness and more like a recurring gamble. To understand it, you separate three things people always blur together. War is a decision. Warfare is a method. Peace is an agreement. Three different things, with three different explanations. Chapter 2. Why groups choose to fight. No leader in history has gone to war expecting to lose. War is a calculated bet. A prize on one side, a cost on the other. If both sides could predict the winner, they would skip the fight and deal. Three things tip the scale: fear, interest, and honor. But the engine driving most wars is miscalculation. Both sides cannot be right about who wins, yet each side believes it will. Each side hides its strength. War becomes the test that reveals the truth. Then there is the oldest switch in the human mind. Activate group identity, and the brain instantly sorts the world into us and them. Violence unthinkable against a neighbor feels righteous against the outgroup. That switch does not require hatred. It only requires belonging. Chapter 3. From Raids to Total War. For most of history, war meant a few men raiding for cattle. It was seasonal. You fought between planting and harvest, then went home. The motives were simple. Take something, protect something, or settle a score. Once a group could store grain, they had wealth worth taking and armies to feed. Cities meant surplus. Surplus meant kings. Kings meant standing armies. Gunpowder arrived. A peasant with a musket could kill a knight. But the Industrial Revolution truly exploded the scale of war. Railways moved 1 million conscripts to the front in days. War became a collision between entire economies, not just armies. By the mid-20th century, 60 million died in a single war. Then came nuclear weapons, and something changed that never had before. The cost of winning a full war could now exceed any prize. The ancient calculation, fight because it pays, finally ran into a wall. Chapter 4. The numbers that surprise everyone. Here is the number that stops most people cold. In early societies, about 15 of every 100 deaths came from group violence. Archaeologists found it in the bones. Fractures, embedded projectiles, ancient mass graves. Even across the bloodiest century on record, war's share of deaths was far smaller. We grew less violent per person, even while building weapons that could erase cities. That is the paradox at the center of the data. Fewer wars over time. But each war could now do damage unimaginable to a Bronze Age chieftain. World War I killed 17 million in 4 years. World War II eclipsed it faster. Industrial weapons made violence less frequent, but far more concentrated when it arrived. And here's another surprise. Most wars are short. The fighting lasts weeks or months. The peace takes decades to settle. The guns go quiet faster than the arguments. That gap breeds the next war. Most people think a war ends the moment a treaty gets signed. But plenty of finished wars are really just pauses, with the next round already loading. The guns stopped in 1918. 21 years later, the same nations fought again. Punishing terms. The grievance did not disappear, it was stored away. Crushing a defeated side often plants the seed of the very next conflict. Civil wars are hardest because both sides still have to share one country. Same roads, same government, same neighbors, expected to rebuild something together. That is why civil wars restart. The fighting pauses before the dispute is settled. So, what actually ends a war? Not a signature on paper, not silence on the battlefield. A war ends when both sides accept the new reality and stop believing fighting would change it. That moment can arrive in weeks, or it can take a whole generation. The guns go quiet first. Peace is the harder thing to build. Chapter 6. What actually makes wars stop. Wars end when both sides finally agree who would have won. The bargaining theory of war calls this closing the information gap. Losses pile up until both sides finally read the same scoreboard. The tipping point comes when fighting costs more than accepting the result. Scholars call it a mutually hurting stalemate, where standing still hurts. Exhaustion does the quiet work. Mediators build a path leaders can take home. But a ceasefire isn't durable peace. Peace that holds needs three things: credible enforcement, an outside guarantor, and a stake for the losing side. A peace that strips everything from the defeated plants the seeds of the next war. After World War II, peace held. After World War I, it collapsed in 20 years. Building peace is slow and unglamorous, and it almost never makes the headlines. War is legible. Peace is invisible. And that gap shapes how we treat both. Here's the one thing all of this comes down to. War is not a force of nature, it is a decision. Groups fight when the prize, territory, security, honor feels worth the price. Fear, self-interest, and protecting a reputation drive these decisions. These are not forces beyond control, they are human calculations. And because they are calculations, they can change. Leaders who order offensives can order ceasefires if the math shifts. Most wars end when fighting costs more than it could return. Korea in 1953, the Western Front in 1918, both recalculated. Wars end when both sides stop believing that fighting will pay. War is a gamble, taken by people like all gambles. The math can always change, and when it does, so can the war.